Hey, Steeler Nation, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brian Hanley, and welcome back to Steelers Almighty. Appreciate everybody being in here. We have got a good show for you guys today. First up, Derrick Harmon. Whew, ladies and gentlemen, he is making a big difference for the Pittsburgh Steelers on that defensive line. We'll talk about that today. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to trade Pat Friermuth. Talked a little bit about that last night on the big show. We're going to get into it again today in a little bit more detail, but it's just time. It's time. The DB room, it can be elite. Hasn't been so far, but it absolutely can be. We'll talk about that. And then Arthur Smith, it is time to give him his respect. Look, we badmouth him when it's time to badmouth him. But when he's good, I don't think enough people talk about that. We're going to do that today and what he's done for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So appreciate everybody being in here, man. Weekly, you can find us on youtube.com/Steelers Almighty. On your social media platforms, you can find us at Steelers Almighty. And if you prefer the audio version of this podcast and others, you can find us anywhere you get your podcast at Steelers Almighty. Remember, like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in the comments section. Steelers Almighty is the fastest growing Steelers channel on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. You want to be a part of it? Let's get into this. So first things first, Derrick Harmon. He is making a big difference for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, he got hurt last preseason game, which was unfortunate, and we all thought the worst because it was a non-contact injury. His knee just gave out, but he played the very next play, and then it was like, okay, what's going on here? Missed the first two games, came back. I think the first game, it was a little nerves. He played okay, but since then, he has made a difference. So the one thing that Derrick Harmon does at that position. Again, it's the non-glory position, defensive end in a 3-4. Now, he's played all up and down the line. He's gone from the nose. He's gone to 3-4 DN. When we're in our nickel and our dime package, he plays the nose and he plays the 3-tech as well. So he's very versatile in what he can do, which is a good thing. Needs to be versatile in that position. That's why they drafted him. But he likes doing the dirty work that a 3-4 defensive end does. Like, he does that dirty work. I mean, there's several times he's just pressing offensive linemen and two-gapping guys all day long in the run game. He's that guy. And then when it comes to double teams, he eats double teams. You know, having him in the lineup has allowed the linebackers to run free because he eats the two blockers. Because if you don't stick with him, he's going to eat that alive and be in a gap that he's not supposed to be in, and offenses cannot deal with him. So he's doing the dirty work inside. You know, teams haven't been able to run since he's been back, too. That's another thing to keep in mind. Like I said, his first game was against the Patriots. We saw the first two games of the year with Seattle, and the first game of the year. Oh, my God, who did the Steelers play? I can't even remember. Either way, doesn't matter. First two games of the year, the Steelers gave up a ton. The Jets. Oh my God, I couldn't remember. But they ran up and down the field on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Harmon gets into the game. Lord have mercy. It's just he's stopped it. He's stopped the teams from running. Look, against the Patriots, they ran for 119 yards, which was down from the previous 2 weeks where the teams were doing wind sprints against the Pittsburgh Steelers running the football. Next week against the Vikings, 70 yards. Derrick Harmon doing his thing. Now, a lot of guys did their thing, but Derrick Harmon inside doing his thing. Against the Browns, who had been running the ball successfully, 65 yards. Now, look, I'm not saying that the Steelers' run defense is the world's best. It has gotten better. But the only thing that I know is that once Derrick Harmon got inserted into the lineup, once he came back from injury, they have been a really good run defense. That has happened. You can't deny that. Now, I'm not saying he's the only reason, but he is a reason. Give the man his credit. We're going to do that on Steelers Almighty. Absolutely. Has he been in a menace with his pass rush? Yes. Yes, he has. He's got more sacks than Cam Heyward. He's got 2 sacks on the season, 9 QB hurries, 2 QB hits in 3 games. Look, that was his thing. That was one of the reasons that the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted him in the first place, because last year alone at Oregon, he had 55 pressures and 43 QB hurries from the defensive tackle position. That's incredible. Now, granted, it's college football, but he was in college and he's doing the same things now. I like Derrick Harmon. Look, um, he's brought stability to the interior of the Steelers' defensive line. The Steelers had to get, first of all, they had to get younger. Him and Y.A. Black, obviously, they're rookies. They fit that bill. They had to get younger on the D line, but they had to get bigger and more athletic. You know, bigger, more athletic guys that aren't going to get pushed around in the run game. Derrick Harmon has brought that to the Pittsburgh Steelers, ladies and gentlemen. He is that. He's big, he's athletic, and as I mentioned earlier, versatile. Versatile. And that was just something that, look, it's no knock against the guys that were on the Pittsburgh Steelers previously. They just weren't that. They just weren't big, physical, athletic, versatile. They just weren't those guys. Well, Derrick Harmon is that. Derrick Harmon is that. And look, I know people saying that he's the Cam Heyward replacement. Okay, I'm not going to deny that. But he's playing really good football. And like I said, since he's been inserted or come back from injury, however you want to look at it, I just know that the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is better. The run defense is better. They've been getting after the quarterback better. And one of the reasons you have to deal with him, you have to, because if you don't, it's a problem. It's a problem. Like I said, his versatility to be able to play a 3-4 defensive end, kick him inside to nose guard if you need to, he can do that. Also, when we go to the nickel, he can, or go to the nickel defense or dime, he can play dag nabbit that nose tackle, and he can also play a 3 technique. So Derrick Harmon is a difference maker right now. And I love the rotation that the Steelers have at D-line. You got Heyward, Harmon, you got Equale, you got Black, and you got Benton. All those guys right now. I mean, I don't know how many defensive linemen that you need in your rotation. 5 seems to be good enough for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do you need that many more? I don't think you do. I think you're fine right there, especially the way the Steelers want to play defense. So I like what they have, but make no mistake about it. Derrick Harmon was anointed a starter early on in camp for the stuff that he did in OTAs and minicamp. He gets anointed a starter, and he has not let us down so far, ladies and gentlemen. He has played really, really good football. Let's go to the poll question. Derrick Harmon is doing his thing, ladies and gentlemen. He is doing his thing. First poll. What aspect of Derrick Harmon's game do you think contributes most to the Steelers' defensive success? Is it A, run defense, B, pass rushing ability, C, versatility up and down the line, or D, leadership and stability? Make sure you put a 1 in front of your answer so we know exactly what poll question you are answering. Let's move on. This is going to piss some Pittsburgh Steeler fans off. To be honest with you, it pissed me off coming to this realization. But it's time to trade Pat Friermuth. It's just time. Now, again, I know that's going to piss some Pittsburgh Steeler fans off. We love Muth. We love our football players. But let's get into the reasons why I say that. Because you all know me. I like Muth. I'm a Muth defender. But at some point, reality has to be reality. So, first off, his days with the Steelers, they clearly appeared to be numbered. And you can just look at what the Steelers are doing right now. You know, Mike Tomlin came out and he said, you know, that the reason that the snap count has gone down is because teams are playing against 4-3 defenses. And when you do that, it's tough for our tight ends to block against those big physical defensive ends. Well, I'm sorry, but most teams play a 4-3 defense. So if that's going to be the case, it's tough. It's going to be tough for them to get out there if this is the way and the philosophy that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to use moving forward. So if that is the way that they're going to move forward, then yeah, it's going to be tough because look, him and Jonnu Smith, they're not blockers. They're pass catchers. Mike Tomlin even said so last year when they signed Pat Friermuth. He said they signed him to be a pass catcher because that's what he is. But the Steelers need to and want to run the football. You got to be better on the edge out there blocking. Darnell Washington brings that. So that's the philosophy that the Steelers are using right now. So things have changed. Now, I'm looking over here because I'm looking at these numbers. I was like, here's the one thing about this that I think people are, I don't know if they're upset, but it's a reality. Jonnu Smith is better at doing the things that Pat Friermuth does well. That's just a fact. Jonnu Smith is better at that than he is. You know, he's more athletic. He's a better catcher of the football. He's more dynamic. All of those things Jonnu Smith is better at. So you can't have, look, first of all, how many tight ends do you need on a roster? That's one thing. But you can't have two tight ends when you go to 12 personnel and neither one of them can block. You can't do that. So one of those guys has to be able to block. That's what most teams have. Yes, they've got a pass catcher out there, but the other tight end, he's got to be able to block. Darnell Washington does that. You just can't have Muth and Jonnu Smith out there and neither one of them can block. Somebody's got to be able to do something in the blocking department, and neither one are good at that. And look, Jonnu, he's just more dynamic than Pat Friermuth. His snap count has gone down. I mean, he played a career low 15 snaps against the Vikings, 21 against the Browns. I don't know if they're phasing him out. I just think it's a matter of what's best for the football team. And what's best for the football team right now is it's not Pat Friermuth. It's Darnell Washington, number 1, Jonnu Smith, 2, Pat Friermuth, 3, in that order. That's just the way that it is. Now, why would the Steelers trade him? So, like I mentioned before, how many tight ends do you actually need on your football team? Like 3, I would guess. But how many more? I mean, and we've got 4, you know? And I know that Heyward does a lot of stuff, a lot of dirty work, but he's a tight end. That is his position. So I'm just not sure you need to have that many on your football team. I mean, you definitely don't need 5. 4 is probably pushing it, but okay, that's what we have. Washington is starting to come into his own. There's no doubt about it that Mount Washington, first of all, they're utilizing him. That's what fans have been screaming about for the last 2 years. Just use him. You know, I think Mount Washington's rookie year, I think his knee was still bothering him. I think last year they didn't know how to use him or they didn't trust him in the passing game. And maybe he wasn't as good in the passing game. This year, he's shown them, hey, throw me the football. Number 1, I'll catch it. Number 2, I know what to do with it. Just give me some opportunities because you know I'm going to be out there on the edge blocking. And that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing. They're just saying, no, we got to get this guy on the football field. Why? This 315-pound tight end that can catch the football and run, yeah, we need to get that guy involved. Again, 265 for Mount Washington. Get out of here. Just get out of here. So that's kind of the way that I see it. Washington coming into his own. Jonnu's better than Muth. And now look, I know people will say, well, there's no way that Connor Heyward is better than him. And you're 100% right. Connor Heyward does nothing offensively better than Pat Friermuth, and it's not even close. It's not close. However, what Connor Heyward actually does do better, and again, you're not going to ask Muth to do this, special teams. Heyward's on all of them, and he does a good job. So while he's not better offensively, you need good special teams guys on your team, and your third or technically your fourth tight end needs to be good on special teams because, again, the other 3 tight ends that the Steelers have, you're not going to have those guys playing special teams. I mean, Darnell Washington isn't running down on kick coverage. You know, Jonnu Smith and Friermuth, they're not going to be doing those things. But Connor Heyward can do those things. So, yeah, he's going to be on the team, but he doesn't do anything better offensively, but you need him. You need a Connor Heyward on your team, especially since Killebrew went out, especially since then. So that's the whole thing is he's not, and also Muth isn't impacting football games right now. That's one thing. Is like sitting on the sideline. I mean, how is he helping? He's not. And you can say, well, the Steelers aren't utilizing. No, they're not. But to win and to do the things that the Steelers want to do, which is run the football against these teams that play 4-3 defenses and have tight ends that can block, Muth is not going to help you there. I'm not saying he's giving nothing to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the other tight ends are giving you much more. So why wouldn't you play them? It's not their fault that Pat Friermuth got paid last year. It's not their fault that Pat Friermuth is even on the team. They're just capable of doing some of the things that Friermuth just isn't capable of doing. So what does a trade look like? Well, first off, let's start with when would you want to make this trade? Because to me, I don't think they need to do it right this very second. I think you need to get through the Packers game and kind of see where you're at with Calvin Austin III. I said this on the big show with Big G is let's see what that looks like. First off, let's see if Calvin Austin can even play. If his shoulder isn't right, then can he even play, and how bad is it? Because the only way that you're trading Muth is you got to go get a wide receiver. That's I don't think there's anything other than that, because you're getting rid of a potential weapon. You have to get one back. And why would you trade a tight end, a pass catching tight end, and not get another pass catcher back? That's the whole thing I say about wait for Calvin Austin III, see what he looks like in the Packers game, because if he can play, okay, great. But how well does he play? What's he look like? And if he can't play, how bad's the injury? What do we actually look like in that game? Did we miss him? So that would be my first thoughts, or wait until that game, find out where you're at, but then go get a pass catcher. Steelers got plenty of draft capital. I know people, and I'm one of those people, by the way, that want to hold on to those draft picks, but what are you holding them on for? I know we wanted to get a quarterback next year. Well, all of those, you're not going to need 12 picks to go get a quarterback. That's just not realistic, people. You're not doing that, okay? Or if you want to move up to get a left tackle, you're not going to need 12 draft picks to do that. Not to mention 12 guys that you get drafted or that you draft are not making the football team. So you might as well use that to your advantage to better your football team. Now, also in the coming weeks, it's going to depend on where the Pittsburgh Steelers actually are. If the bottom falls out of this thing, then no, you don't need to trade Pat Friermuth. It doesn't make any sense at that point because you need a better football team next year. But if the Steelers keep ascending and you want to make a real run at this thing this year, then yes, Pat Friermuth has to go. And I think after that, and the whole thing, like I said, he's just not helping the Steelers on the sideline right now. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about as far as, well, they're not utilizing them and they need to utilize them. But he isn't helping just sitting over there. We might as well trade him to a team that he can help. Because, again, Pat Friermuth is a good football player. Let's not act like he's a bad football player. He's not. He is a good football player. It just happens to be right now the Steelers can't use him. Now, injuries always happen. Things could happen and could turn around and blow up in our face. Maybe. But here's the key. The Steelers traded Minkah Fitzpatrick, and they got better in the secondary. Although, yes, they took a hit to that safety position, they got better in the secondary. And I can tell you right now, even if Minkah Fitzpatrick is with the Steelers, with Jalen Ramsey and what he's able to do and his versatility, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but the Steelers are better with Ramsey than they were with Minkah. That's just a fact. As much as people may want to argue that, I don't think you can, because Ramsey is a better player than Minkah is. Definitely more versatile. So why can't you trade Pat Friermuth for another pass catcher? Again, it's got to be a wide receiver. It'd be crazy talk to trade him for another tight end. So why not upgrade that room? You absolutely can. You absolutely can. Again, this is not a referendum on Pat Friermuth sucking, because I don't think that's the case. I think he's a good football player. But so was Minkah Fitzpatrick. He was a good football player. We just got somebody else in a trade that helped us more. Nothing wrong with that. Not in my mind. Nothing wrong with that. So I know we love Muth, and I know we want him to contribute, But for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right now, I think it's best that the Steelers just go in a different direction. So let's go to the poll question. I like them, but we got to move on. Poll 2, how should the Steelers handle Pat Friermuth's future? A, trade him for draft capital. B, keep him and develop his blocking skills. Yeah, I think that ship might be sailed. C, play him as a pure pass catcher. Okay, you can. Or D, restructure his deal and keep him. I don't think that's. I don't. Who knows? Who knows what the Steelers are going to do? Who knows? I know what I would do. The question is, what would you guys do? Make sure you put a 2 in front of your answer so we know exactly what poll question you are answering. It is the halftime, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate everybody being in here, guys, as always, for all your support, man. This is craziness how much this channel has grown, and it's literally only grown because of you guys, man. So thank you very much for everything you do. Remember, memberships are available. If you want to help support the channel that way, you can join, become a member. All pro level, you get the all 22 of the entire football game. That's also available. And then if you want to be a Hall of Fame member and join the watch party where we watch all the games together on Sunday or Thursday or Monday, make sure you join there because we have a blast in there and all the perks that you get with being a Hall of Fame member. So make sure you sign up for that. Also, remember, merch. Steelers Almighty Shop is open and available, ladies and gentlemen, to pick up your shirts. You can get your shirt, you can get your hat. You got plenty of choices to get, plenty of shirts, hats, glasses, all that good stuff, man. And the weather is changing. So our hoodies and long sleeve t-shirts will be out shortly. So make sure that you guys sign up or go to Steelers Almighty Shop and go pick you out your Steelers Almighty gear, man, because it is good stuff, I can assure you. So either way, we appreciate you guys. Let's get back to the show. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen. So the DB room can be elite. Yes, I still believe that the Steelers secondary can be elite. Now, let's just attack the elephant in the room. It has not been elite early, okay? Most people are going to say, Big B, you're nuts for even saying that. Well, no, I'm not. Just hear me out. First off, the DB room has been just ravaged with injuries. From Deshaun Elliott, Joey Porter Jr., Jalen Ramsey's been banged up. I mean, there was a game where the Steelers were down 4 corners in a game. Eccles got beat up. Darius Slay, old man Slay. He's 34. You know, he's going to need a couple plays here or there for a shoulder to get beat up. It just happens. But they have been ravaged by injuries. Okay. But as they've started to get healthy, they've started to look better. We've had some communication issues, which plagued us all last year. That is starting to look a little bit different. Now, if you just look at the numbers, teams are averaging 255 yards a game. That is not very good. Okay. Near the bottom of the league. However, it's gotten better. And now, granted, you could say it looked better against a rookie QB and a bad wide receiving core, the Cleveland Browns. Okay, that's true. And if you take out, which I know you can't do, the one miscommunication against the Minnesota Vikings where they got that 80-yard pass play, it would have looked better that game too. So it's starting to get better. As guys get healthy, it will start to look better. Now, here's where the key part is Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey's versatility, ladies and gentlemen, helps this Pittsburgh Steelers secondary tremendously. Mike Tomlin has raved about not just his ability, but how smart he is. Because against the Browns, and not just against the Browns, against the Vikings too, he played free safety, strong safety, nickel corner, outside corner. And he's the guy out there leading the team, telling people where to go, leading the communication. Look, that's a smart football player. Number one, he's really good. But number two, to be able to play all those different positions and know exactly what he's supposed to do and help other people know what they're supposed to do, Tell me again that the Steelers didn't win the trade between Minka and Jalen Ramsey. I know we love Minka. Jalen Ramsey's just better. He's just better. And it's okay. It's okay that we got a better player. Steelers don't always have the best players at all times. So when you can upgrade, it's okay to upgrade. The Steelers did that. They did that in this case. Now, look, big tests are on the horizon for this defense. And that's why I say they can be elite. And we're going to get the opportunity to show it. Let me just go down the list. The Bengals twice, the Packers, the Colts, the Chargers, the Bears. And yeah, the Bears Bears have a pretty good passing game going for them. The Bills and the Lions. That's all left on the Steelers' schedule. And even if you want to throw the Ravens in there, if Lamar Jackson comes back, we have them twice too. So yeah, we're going to get the opportunity to show who we are. But look, having Deshaun Elliott, he basically missed 3 games. Having him back, that helps, ladies and gentlemen. Joey Porter Jr., he missed 3 games. Having him back, yeah, that helps, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. Chuck Clark went from a guy that was starting. Chuck Clark can't get a helmet because Peppers has now taken his job. And Chuck Clark is still a good football player. He can still help football teams out there. He absolutely can. He can't get a helmet on Sundays. That's how deep the Steelers are. Who knows what's going to happen? Brandon Eccles has been a key member to this secondary, a key member. Now, will Corey Trice ever get back? I don't know. But the Steelers seem to love him because he keeps getting hurt and they keep keeping him around. So if he ever gets back, you see a little bit of what his ability is. This defense can be elite. Now they need, or the secondary, I should say, and defense in part in tow. Now, here's the one thing. They need the D-line to help them. And they've been helping them. The front seven has been helping them because they got to be able to shut down the run. Because if you can make teams one-dimensional, that's going to help on the back end. Well, what has happened over the last several games? The Steelers keep moving up the charts as far as a run defense, people. Complementary football means everything. The Steelers' run defense is now 16th at 110 yards a game. It keeps going up. I mentioned Derrick Harmon. When he came back, teams' running numbers have gone down. That's a trend that has to continue. It has to continue, And again, the more one-dimensional we can make an offense, the better that our defense is going to be. Because number one, we can tee off. Number two, our secondary, they got to hit the jugs machines because they missed 4 interceptions against the Browns. But if they can figure that out, yeah, I think we can be an elite secondary. And isn't that what we said at the beginning of the year? Isn't that what we said? Oh, this secondary is going to be elite. Well, injuries and not playing together because of injuries and not doing a whole lot in the preseason. Yeah, that'll hurt you a little bit. It will. But as that has moved on and more game planning has started to take place, the secondary has looked better. I expect them to be one of the top secondaries. By the end of the year, I expect them to be one of the top secondaries in the league. If they're not, it'll be a disappointment. It'll really be a disappointment. And not only will it be a disappointment, what will the Steelers' season look like if they're not one of the better secondaries? Just something to keep in mind. Just something to keep in mind. Let's go to the poll question. Poll number 3. Which upcoming opponent do you believe poses the biggest threat to the Steelers' defensive back room? A, Cincinnati Bengals, potentially potent passing game, especially with Flacco. We play them twice. Those receivers, really, really good. B, Green Bay Packers, versatility in offensive play is challenging. Yes, it is, because they're going to run it too. So you got to keep them off balance, or you got to make them one-dimensional because they want to keep you off balance. C, Indianapolis Colts, many strong offensive weapons. Again, another team that wants to keep you off balance. They've been able to run it like crazy, and then just when you think they're going to run it, they throw it right over top of your head. Got to shut it down. Or C, Los Angeles Chargers, offense can score from anywhere. It's literally one of the top offensive. Who knew? Greg Roman. I mean, the Steelers used to feast on a Greg Roman offense with Lamar Jackson. We used to feast on that. Now, all of a sudden, Greg Roman has turned around. He gets Justin Herbert. He's throwing the ball all over the lot. Like, he's a new offensive coordinator. Who knew, ladies and gentlemen? Who knew? Make sure you put a 3 in front of your answer. Yeah, that Chargers offense, Greg Roman, I'm like, my goodness, this man. Not even the same guy that we used to just beat up when he was with the Baltimore Ravens. Not the same guy. Let's move on. Let's move on. So, look here, people. It is easy hanging fruit to constantly beat up on Arthur Smith. That is the low-hanging fruit that some people, that's literally the only thing that they ever say is Arthur Smith's terrible. He's trash. He's not a good offensive coordinator. And when he's bad, I'm right there with you. Because when he's bad, he is ultra predictable and he's terrible. But when he's good, and he's been good more oftentimes this year than last year, you have to give the man his credit. You have to give, because if you're not, either you're not a Steelers fan or you're just not being honest. It's just that simple. Now, look, he's done a good job based on what he's had to work with this year. You know, he doesn't have a bona fide number 2 receiver. Look, Calvin Austin is great. I like him. And there's some of you that think that he's a number 2, but he isn't. He's a slot guy. He's a slot guy. And that's where he could do his best work. But we don't have a number 2 wide receiver. We don't. Now, that's not his fault. You know, I know that a lot of times we blame Mike Tomlin, and he puts together the team along, with Omar Khan, but Arthur Smith doesn't have any part in that. Okay, he's the offensive coordinator. So his job is not to put together the football team. His job is to get the best offensive production based on what he has. So not having a bona fide wide receiver 2 can be a burden. It is. Also had to deal with offensive line issues. Look, we do all 22 every week. Every week. The offensive line, for the most part this year, has played bad. I know the last couple of games they have played good. But the first 3, yeah, the Steelers didn't play good. That offensive line was atrocious, especially against New England. Man, they were bad. They were bad. But it is starting to come around. But either way, that first game, the offensive line wasn't good in that game either. The Steelers put up 34 points and didn't need a defensive touchdown to do it. That was all offense. So look, Arthur Smith is kind of doing his thing, man. Now, he's also doing it with Aaron Rodgers, who's he's an immobile quarterback, but Rodgers is still playing at a pretty high level, So I don't want to try to use that as a crutch because he's immobile, but Rodgers is still playing at a pretty high level, ladies and gentlemen. And again, if you look at PFF, because he doesn't throw the football down the field, you would think Aaron Rodgers is one of the worst quarterbacks in the world. That is not the case. That is just not the case. Watch football. Just watch football. Now, if you look at the numbers for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, you're going to say, Big B, you are nuts. Why should we give Arthur Smith credit? They are 29th in total offense, 277 a game. 29th in rushing offense at 84 yards a game. Unacceptable, especially for a team that wants to run the football. 25th in passing offense, 193 yards a game. I just finished saying Rodgers has been playing good, high level. Well, he has. But they don't throw the ball down the field. That's the thing with the Steelers. They're not doing that. But they can't necessarily because of offensive line issues and protection issues. So you're not going to be able to push the ball down the field all the time because you can't protect the guy. That's a problem. That's something that Arthur Smith has figured out because the Pittsburgh Steelers are 14th in scoring offense at 23.8 points a game. Well, 23.9, points a game. So he's still figuring out how to put up points. They're above average in the league as far as that's concerned. But here's another stat for you. The Steelers are 6th in the National Football League when it comes to red zone touchdown percentage at 71.43%. So when the Steelers get into the red zone, they're not settling for field goals. They're scoring touchdowns. Now, some of you, well, they just had a game where they kicked, 3 field goals. They weren't in the red zone. Okay? The Steelers get in the red zone, they score touchdowns. That's what they do. So that is something to hold on to. And Arthur Smith is a huge part of that. Now, just go by some of the coaching aspects. Forget the numbers. Let's look at some of the adjustments that he has made. Adding Darnell Washington into the lineup, ingenious. And that is not, I mean, that's Arthur Smith saying, hey, we want to run the football. We got to get Darnell out there. He probably needed the okay from Mike Tomlin and say, look, man, I know we got this tight end that makes $12 million. He can't help us. He's not helping us right now. He can't block these guys the way I need these guys blocked for our offense to go, whether it's outside, inside zone, but especially when we start going to our gap running game, which the Steelers have done. They basically did all of that against the Cleveland Browns because the Browns like to run side to side. The Steelers said, no, we're going to go downhill and run a lot of gap stuff. Pat Friermuth, Jonnu, they can't block those guys. We need bigger body. Mike Tomlin gave the okay. Boom, insert Darnell Washington. You also said, you know what? If you're going to give me Darnell, why don't you give me Spencer Anderson too? He can block these guys on the edge. Why don't we have him be out there in our 12 personnel? He's not going to sacrifice. He helps our tackles, depending on which side of the field that he's on. He helps our young tackles. Teams do it to the Steelers all the time. They keep guys in, help their tackle. Well, why can't we do that? Of course we can. And it's not compromising what the Steelers are trying to do in the passing game. It hasn't compromised it at all. That's Arthur Smith saying, you know what, we got to do something different. And one thing that goes overlooked, Arthur Smith is a huge zone running team. That is a huge zone running offense. Him going to a gap scheme this last game against the Browns was ingenious because, again, they're athletic up front. Trying to block guys in space is not going to be something. First of all, we struggle at it. But doing that against the best run defense in the league, it's a problem. Run right at them. Steelers did that. They did that. They ran right at the Browns. And that's where we have an advantage, running right at teams. He's made that adjustment. First couple of games, he's looking at it. Okay, the run scheme that I want to do is not what my guys do best. We got to start running more gap stuff and running downhill. The Steelers have done that. So 3 of the 5 games this year, he's done a good job. Now, some people will never say that he did a good job, but you just can't take those people seriously. But if you're trying to tell me that Arthur Smith wasn't good against the Jets, you are out of your mind. You are absolutely out of your mind. Okay? Now, against Seattle, no. As a matter of fact, against Seattle, I thought he was awful. Not bad. I thought he was awful. Against New England, I'm going to say he was bad, but that was more a blocking thing. Is that the Steelers, the first 2 drives, they went up and down the field. But the Steelers, then they just couldn't block the Patriots to do the things that we were wanting to do. Well, I'm not sure that's the offensive coordinator's fault. If the guys aren't able to block, then what are you supposed to do as an offensive coordinator? That the 3 times in that football game for 3 drives that the offensive line actually came to play and block, they scored touchdowns every one of those times. I don't know that you can blame an offensive coordinator for that. Against Minnesota, he was phenomenal. Arthur Smith was phenomenal. Against the Browns, phenomenal. They left some points on the board. I'll give you that. But some of that was we get a penalty here, get a penalty there, we get behind the sticks, and a good offensive coordinator, you know what? I get it. We could possibly go for this, but we got an automatic guy that's going to give us 3 points in the bank, and they can't move the ball on our defense. Let's just take the 3 points and move on to another day. Not wanting to risk anything. That's smart. Thought he's been phenomenal in 3 football games this year. I think he deserves credit. Can the play calling still get more aggressive? Yes, it can. But maybe it will as we move on in the season. Maybe it will because, like I said, we're going to start facing some dynamic offenses. We're going to have to score some more points. I don't think 23 points a game is going to cut it. It needs to be up around the 26 to 27 point mark if you're wanting to do some damage. That's where I think Steelers got to get there. Somehow, some way, they got to be able to get there. But Arthur Smith, so far, is doing a good job, and I think he needs his kudos. Let's move on to the poll. Poll 4. What do you believe is the key factor for the offense to continue improving under Smith? Is it a more creative offensive scheme? B, improved health and performance of the players? C, integration of new talent and player rotations? Or D, better execution in the red zone? All good answers. Except maybe 4, because the Steelers are pretty damn good. But if Steelers get even better in the red zone, look out. Look out. Make sure you put a 4 in front of your answer so we know exactly what poll question you guys are answering. So look here, ladies and gentlemen. We're sitting in a good spot. We're absolutely sitting in a good spot as far as what we can do. But season's still young. I mean, it is very young. We got a lot of football left. I know the theme last week is the Steelers own the North, and I'm like, we just played the Browns, man. I go, we still got the Bengals twice, the Ravens twice. We got to go to Cleveland again. There is so much football left to be played. We shouldn't be talking about we own anything. The only thing we should be talking about is winning the next rep. Win the next rep and just keep stacking up reps, and hopefully that's enough to win the next game. That's it. Don't worry about all these other things down the road. Because if you start worrying about that and you start counting your chickens before they hatch, you know how that works out. You know exactly how that always works out. No need for the Steelers to do that. Just keep stacking good days, good plays. Keep stacking good plays, which turn into good drives, which turn into good days. Just continue to do that, and we will be fine. We will be fine. I think the offense is going to start to pick it up even more because the O-line is getting better. The defense is going to come around. Didn't start great, had some injuries, but a full allotment of our football players, I think we're going to see a big improvement. So we got a chance, people. We got a chance. And isn't that all we ask for as fans, is just to have a chance? We want to win every single game. But more importantly, we want to have a chance to win every game. And I think that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers have right now. So appreciate it, man. Thanks, everybody, for being here. That's all I got for you. Remember, like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in the comments. Woo! Hit that notification bell so you know exactly when Steelers Almighty content comes out. Man, I can't wait. There's a lot of football left. I'm excited. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, aloha.